I thought it was okay. I mean, I knew it was okay the whole time, but it wasn't until I realized when we were going through it that I honestly started to panic.
That driver encountering a scary situation as he tried to get to the Dalles on I-84, then came face to face with a giant wall of smoke and flames on both sides of the highway. Thanks for joining us as we continue with our breaking news coverage of the multiple fires in the Columbia River Gorge. Right now, there are evacuations on both sides of the river, and sections of I-84 and SR-14 on the Washington side are shut down.
Things change in minute to minute. Let's give you a live look from our sky camera in the Dalles. Wow, look at that. A plume of smoke. This is looking west towards Rowena. The Rowena fire, some 2,000 homes between Rowena and the Dalles under some sort of evacuation level within the last few minutes. The governor and the Oregon State Fire Marshal greenlighting more resources into this area.
We have live team coverage on both the Washington and Oregon sides of the Columbia. We've got Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino in-house tracking the winds, meteorologist Joe Ranieri along I-84 near Hood River, and Alma McCarty in Skamania County near the town of Carson, close to two separate wildfires. Let's focus in on the Rowena fire for a moment here on the Oregon side first. The map that you see there shows the evacuation zone. That includes a large level 3 go now area west of the Dalles to Mayer State Park. That is red on this map. This includes more than 730 homes in that red area. The areas in yellow here are under B-set level 2 evacuation orders. That's nearly 1,200 homes. And level 1, be ready, is in green.
Those two levels, they're extending into the Dalles city limits there, a city of about 15,000 there. If you need to evacuate, these are your local options. Work with me here. One, the Gloria Center, open until 8. That's on the Dalles on West 7th Street. We have a couple others here. The Red Cross opening a shelter at the Dalles Middle School. This is just coming in. They're saying pets are allowed. Volunteers are in place to help. A third one, livestock and horses. You're to go to the Wasco County Fairgrounds. That's in Tye Valley, so a little bit south of there. Obviously, touch and go for folks there. We do want to note right now, we do not have any reports of structures or homes lost to the fire at this point.
Let's get right to our Joe Ranieri, who is live near I-84, where traffic has been backing up this evening. Joe, last hour, you described it as a parking lot.
And it still is a parking lot. It's pretty much been like this all afternoon. You can see behind me, this is the eastbound traffic that hasn't really been moving all day. Now, I want to talk about the conditions out here. We've been seeing gusts anywhere from about 30 to 40 miles an hour, but within the last 20 minutes, Christine, those wind gusts have really been picking up, and that's not going to be helping crews as they work on the multiple fires that are burning out here. You can kind of see the clouds moving in. Well, those are actually more smoke and hazy conditions that have been kind of filtering in throughout parts of the Columbia River Gorge all afternoon. I want to show you some video that was shot from a KGW viewer earlier this afternoon that shows just the intensity of this fire that broke out earlier this afternoon. This was taken from Dale Quankbrush, shot this on East I-84. He was headed home to the Dalles. Dale said he could see smoke in the distance, but didn't realize it was a fast-moving wildfire until he got a little closer. Quickly, visibility became limited. He could only see a few cars in front of him. Luckily, most drivers slowed down and put their hazard lights on. Some pulled over. We don't know what caused this fire, but we spoke with Dale shortly after he arrived at the Dalles over FaceTime.
At first, I thought it was okay. I mean, I knew it was okay the whole time, but it wasn't until I realized when we were going through it that I honestly started to panic. And if you could hear me telling, like, my mom, who lives in California, I'm telling my mom, it's okay. If you see this before I get a chance to post it, I'm okay. I'm safe. But I was actually panicking a little bit.
Now, David and Christine, like we've been telling you all afternoon and evening, if you don't have to come out along I-84, that's a great idea because you're not going to get very far. Again, both directions of the interstate are shut down. Now, we're actually in between these two big fires. Now, across the way there, probably about 5-10 miles to our west, are those two wildfires that are burning on the Washington side of the Columbia River Gorge. And again, earlier this afternoon, it was crystal clear skies out here. Now that smoke and haze is starting to filter in, and about 15 miles to our east is the Rowena fire that's continuing to burn, and that is the big fire that's burning out here. But again, the wind has been a big factor all afternoon, and it's going to continue to be a big factor out here at crews work to fight multiple fires are burning throughout the Columbia River Gorge. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I cannot help but notice the wind and how loud it is in your microphone. Stay safe out there. Thank you for your report, Joe.
Not encouraging for firefighters there. Let's turn to the fires burning on the Washington side. There's one near the town of Carson known as the Sandhill or Hot Springs fire, and then just a few miles to the east of there, the Grant Lake fire close to the Wind Mountain area. Right now, level 2 BSET evacuation notices in Skamania County. SR 14 closed in both directions east of Carson. Do not try and jump back and forth across the bridges here. State officials say you're going to run into backups and turnarounds, and you're not going to get anywhere quickly.
Alma McCarty joins us now live near Carson. Alma, we just heard from Joe. You could hear the wind whipping against his microphone. Tell us what you're seeing, what the conditions are where you are.
Yeah, Christine, David, I would say that it's pretty windy, maybe not as windy as what Joe is experiencing, and it's hazy over here. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what the smoke looks like in Carson. It is thinning out a little bit compared to how things were, I would say, about an hour or so ago. This is as close, in fact, that as we can get to this fire. Of course, a lot of people at this intersection up here are being turned around because the road does go down to State Route 14, which, as you have mentioned, is closed from milepost 47 to 53. That's Wind River Road to, according to the sheriff, Cook Underwood Road. Now, again, like you were saying, the fire that is burning closer to Carson, Sand Hill fire, and the second Grant Lake fire. We understand that the Sand Hill fire, at last check, is burning at around 40 acres or so. And as we've been out here this afternoon, we have seen many crews, whether in the sky, fighting this thing from the air, to heading down to the fire. They are set up around this elementary school, middle school that we are at in Carson. And many of the folks who are out here, if not all of them, are volunteers. Now, the sheriff of Skamania County, Summer Shire, she tells me while this is early, it is in fact June, they have been preparing.
One of the most important things I can tell people is to sign up for our HyperReach alert notifications. They can go on our website. They can link to our emergency management website. You can get real-time notifications if there is a level 1, 2, or 3 fire in your area. Those notifications will allow you to understand what the fire is doing.
Now, at this point, the evacuations in Skamania County, they remain a level 2, and the sheriff says she doesn't expect these zones to grow. They should have a map up shortly that people in this area can take a look at. I'm sure that will also be on KGW.com when that does become available. But she did say, too, things could certainly change depending on the fire behavior and the weather pattern. Now, they did tell people who are recreating in the area who may be on Dog Mountain, they sent out an alert through a cell tower just saying, hey folks, this is happening in this area. It is time to get off of the mountain, do so safely. So we're just going to keep an eye on things on the Washington side here. And for now, I will send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Alma, just stay with us for a second here because we talked to the sheriff on the phone about 90 minutes ago, and one of the things she didn't want to do was speculate about the cause of the fire there. I can tell you that she said one of them, the one that's closer to where you are near the Wind River, she said the mouth of the Wind River, that's where it sparked, she thought. She didn't want to speculate, but we can tell you there's a set of railroad tracks, as you know, that run along SR 14 there as well. I've got some new information from Burlington Northern Santa Fe, BNSF here. I just want to read it out for our viewers. They say, this is the railroad, that BNSF police reported multiple fires along the main track between Stevenson and Cook on that section. This is just before 2 in the afternoon. Again, no official word on the cause, but the railroad is saying there were multiple fires along the track in that section. Alma, appreciate your reporting there in Skamania County.
Yeah, and more information to be, looked at, and more investigation to be done. Meteorologist Matt Zafino now joining us from the Weather Center. Matt, as I remember you saying, we're still in the windiest part of the day, kind of around 7 or 8, you were saying?
Basically from the mid-afternoon hours until sunset, it's going to stay very windy. I'll show you the hour-by-hour breakdown on that in a minute. This is time-lapse of the Rowena fire as it was burning around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can see we had smoke here in front of the camera. Then that pushed out and we got a really good look at the fire, and that's currently the case right now. The smoke along this part of the river, our camera in the eastern part of the Dalles Dam right out there, and you can see the smoke is pushing it more to the Washington side right now, but everybody downwind from that fire will be susceptible to some pretty thick and nasty smoke. The wind is gusting right now at 31 miles an hour, and that's at the Dalles Airport, which is right about there under the smoke. So again, it's just going to keep on rolling. The Portland area, not bad, but the winds throughout the gorge quite strong, but not in Hood River. So from Hood River to the west, the winds aren't bad at all. It's the eastern gorge that's really getting hammered. Sustained winds in the Dalles, Centerville, 28 miles an hour. And again, the gusts have all been over 30 miles an hour and will continue to do that. This is our wind gust forecast. This is 11 o'clock tonight, showing gusts of 24 at the Dalles. Interestingly enough, the modeling producing higher gusts in Hood River. I don't think that will be the case. And then tomorrow, we see the gusts ramp back up over 30 miles an hour to about 40 miles an hour in the late afternoon hours yet again. So tomorrow is going to be very much like today. Now, here's that hour-by-hour forecast for the wind gusts in the Dalles, starting at 6 o'clock, ramping down to 31 miles an hour, then finally below 30 miles an hour, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and midnight. But they will ramp back up again as we go into tomorrow. So tonight, gusts of 40. The next few hours are quite possible. Gusts of 35 tomorrow afternoon. And on Friday, we're still contending with wind gusts upwards of 30 miles an hour. Guys? Not encouraging for firefighters, but if there is one little bit of encouraging news I can put out there, it does not look like the evacuation zones, Matt, have expanded in the Dalles in the last hour or so. So maybe a glimmer of a silver lining. That's great to hear.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, Matt. You can stay with KGW as we continue to get more information on these wildfires. Information keeps filtering into us, updated regularly, and then we will update you throughout this half hour, and we'll be back for a special edition at 7 p.m. You can also find the latest on our website, that is kgw.com, or download our free KGW News app.
Well, let's turn now to the pushback against President Trump's immigration policies as rallies expand in solidarity with those protesting in downtown Los Angeles.
It was a relatively peaceful night in Southern California after a curfew went into place for much of downtown LA. What is not helping, according to LA Mayor Karen Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom, is President Trump's order to deploy National Guard soldiers and the Marines to LA.
This was provoked by the White House. The reason why, we don't know. I posit that maybe we are part of a national experiment to determine how far the federal government can go.
Daytime protests have largely been peaceful, while cities, especially LA, have seen vandalism and looting at night.
Well, meanwhile, people protesting outside the ICE facility in South Portland were pushed back last night by some sort of law enforcement presence, though at this point it is not clear exactly who.
Our John Adams is live close to where the protests are taking place. John, you spoke with people who were there last night.
Yeah, Christine and David, I actually spoke to two people who saw the entire incident go down last night. One of those people was actually hit by those pepper balls.
On late Tuesday night, video obtained by KGW shows agents firing what appears to be pepper balls at a crowd outside of an ICE facility in Southwest Portland.
Where's the professionalism? Where's the human decency?
The protesters have been here for the last few days, voicing their opposition to recent federal immigration raids and deportations. But the situation escalated during the evening hours on Tuesday, leading to the confrontation.
They were shooting the heck out of everybody very indiscriminately with pepper balls. In fact, there was even just a guy, driving home for the night who got lit up in his truck with it.
Agents can be seen pushing the crowds away from the facility with the help of an armored vehicle.
I literally got hit with flak from just being on the outskirts. I was nowhere near the initial situation, and it was like, wow. It was like, wow, how can you be that careless and that heartless?
This man says the situation started after protesters used debris to block the driveway into the facility.
I seen the Mesa woman stand on this wall right here. The cop literally stand from the angle and just shot her in the face with mace.
A Portland police spokesperson did say they responded to the area after midnight to de-escalate the crowd, but did not use force and made no arrests. By Wednesday morning, only around a dozen protesters remained, but they told us they anticipate to grow once again as the day goes on.
They're absolutely not following the law, it's just absolutely immoral, everything that they're doing. We're still continuing to show up, and I anticipate there's going to be more people tonight, too.
And those numbers have definitely grown as we head into the evening hours tonight. Now, OPB is reporting that those agents were with the Department of Homeland Security. I've been working on verifying that all day today. I reached out to DHS and I reached out to ICE, and I have not yet heard back. David, Christine, back to you.
John Adams reporting live from the South Waterfront near those protests at the ICE facility. Thank you, John.